most popular videos of all time is the video called Things to Do After Getting a New Mac. Now, looking at the creation date, this was uploaded on February 5th, 2008, and we're near the end of 2012, so this video is practically 5 years old. So a lot has changed during that time, but a lot has also stayed the same. So I'm just going to go over some of the points that I made in this video and try and get the most out of your Mac when you unbox it, hopefully for Christmas or any other occasion. The first thing that I went over in that video was calibration of the battery. Now, ever since then, Apple has transitioned to sealing the battery inside of all of their laptops. So everything from the MacBook Air, the Retina MacBook Pro, the standard MacBook Pro, all of those computers have a sealed-in battery. And because of that, Apple support documents state that current Apple portable computers use batteries that are pre-calibrated and do not require the calibration procedure outlined in this article. So, as long as you have a MacBook with the battery sealed up inside, don't calibrate your battery. It's unnecessary and it could actually result in shorter battery life. That's the first thing. The second thing I recommended is calibration of the screen. And this is a tip that I still recommend that everybody do. Once again, especially if you do have a laptop. So what you want to do is go into System Preferences, click on Displays, and click on the Color tab. When you go into the Color tab, you want to hit the Calibrate button, and it's going to bring up the Display Calibrator Assistant. Now it's going to walk you through a series of steps, and you do want to turn on Expert Mode. So click on this Expert Mode button, go through the steps. You want to check the Apple logo in the middle, follow the instructions on the screen, try and get the Apple logo to match the background. Click Continue, Continue, and just click on through all of the steps. And an important step is setting the gamma, because the gamma is the overall contrast of the display. So you just play with the slider here, and you'll see the colors will pop a bit more the more that you push the gamma to the right hand side. So that's gamma for you. And after that, you also want to select the target white point. And the white point just shows the overall temperature of the whites on your screen. So you can have it have a bit of a tint to it, or you can have a blue tint to it, but that's all relative as to your preference where you want to set that white point. So it'll take about 5 minutes to get through going through the calibration. However, once you do it, it does pop out the color more, and it looks a lot better than when you buy it in the store. So that's the second thing I would recommend. Third, Gatekeeper. Ever since the introduction of, I believe, I can't remember if it's Lion or Mountain Lion. It might just be applicable to Mountain Lion only. But anyways, Apple introduced something called Gatekeeper. So if you go into System Preferences, Security and Privacy, and where you want to go to is this one on the bottom, in the General tab. Click to unlock the changes. So you're going to enter your administrator password. And here you want to allow applications downloaded from the Mac Store only, identify developers, or from anywhere. Now, if you're security conscious, or if you may be a bit of a novice to the OS X software, you may want to only restrict it to Mac App Store apps, or App Store and identify developers. So that'll make sure that all of the code, all of the programs that you download, it's all signed and verified through Apple to make sure that viruses don't necessarily get into your system. And if a bad computer or if a bad program does get into your system, Apple can just revoke the license and basically kind of shut it down and make sure that it doesn't spread. So that's the Mac App Store. Now, if you're more advanced, then just click anywhere, because then you can download software from websites. You can get Mentimeters, Onyx, GFX graphic card, any software that you want to download from anywhere. Just click anywhere, and it should give you the old behavior from before. So that's Gatekeeper, and that's allowing applications to download. Um, Software update. Software update is important. A lot of the times when Apple does release a brand new laptop, they'll update the firmware and they'll update the actual core applications itself. So what you want to do for that is Apple menu, software update. And it'll bring up the App Store, and in here you'll get a listing of all your software updates. You may have to restart your computer, or your computer may have to do a firmware flash. And in the case of firmware flashes, you want to make sure that you're powered up completely. Do not lose power when you do a firmware flash. That's always the #1 rule. So go through that, go through all of your software updates, and when everything's set, everything should be set. Also, a piece of software that doesn't come with Apple anymore is the Flash Player. So you want to go to Flash Player. So what you want to do is go to the Adobe website, get Flash Player, and go to Player Download, or just download Adobe Flash. And from here you'll get the most recent version of Flash Player. And I would advise that you actually allow Adobe to install updates, automatic updates, because Flash is it's very prone to security vulnerabilities. So anyways, allow Adobe to install the updates for you. So you have to get Flash Player on your own, or else YouTube's not going to work, or other Flash sites aren't going to work, and you just have to get it as a separate download. So that's Flash. We went through Gatekeeper. Now we're going to talk about Expose, or Mission Control. Go back into System Preferences and go into Mission Control. Now, by default, this checkbox will be enabled. Group Windows by Application. I do not like this setting at all, because if we were to continue and open a bunch of Finder windows, or open a bunch of Firefox windows, and if you want to spread everything out and see what you have, this is what it's going to give you. It's going to give you this mess. And you have like these really small, there's no clear way to see all of the windows, like what's in there. And that's because you're grouping everything by application. So what I like to do is I like to uncheck this, and when you go back to Expose, all of your windows are exposed, just like this. All of your windows are brought back, and you can see individual thumbnails for all of your windows. And that's something that I really like, and that's something that Expose was before they checked that box off. So uncheck this box, and you have a much better vantage point to seeing your applications. If you're using a laptop, one thing you may want to do is hide the dock. As you can see, the dock minimizes whenever I'm elsewhere on the screen, and that's just to save screen real estate. So if you want to hide the dock and change this magnification, you're going to go into Dock and System Preferences, and I have my magnification set, and you can let's see. So if I max it out, your dock icons are huge. So I like to go somewhere more in the middle. And here you can actually set the size of the dock. You can make it really tiny, really large, or somewhere in the middle. So that's the dock. I just like to automatically hide and show the dock just to save my screen real estate on my laptop. Energy Saver. When you're first setting up your laptop, go into Energy Saver. And what you want to do is go into battery. This is a battery profile. So let me see. What did I say in battery? Anyways, power adapter. So when I'm in power adapter, when I'm plugged in, I make it so that my computer never sleeps. And I just say, well, let the display show for an hour. And that's just how I like it on power adapter. So you really don't have to worry about energy savings. But when you're on battery, I also don't like my laptop to sleep automatically. So I just switch it all the way to never. The display sleep, I set it to 7 minutes. You can go longer or shorter or somewhere in the middle. But I just time mine out at 7 minutes for the display to shut off. And put hard disk to sleep when possible. Yeah, I recommend that setting. So if you still have a hard drive, if you're not using an SSD, you can check that box off. And some optional applications that I find really helpful. One here is Minimeters. And Minimeters allows you to show CPU usage, how far you're pushing the processor. Disk activity, how much data you're writing to the disk. Memory usage. And I find this really useful is the network usage. So you can see exactly how much bandwidth you're pushing on your computer. So, for instance, up here, if you click on the network icon, you'll see all of these traffic totals. So how many megs or how many gigs you pushed over your internet, and all of your Ethernet activity will come through on the network. And the CPU meter will show the total average of all of your processors. So that's Minimeters. And finally, the last thing, or the last piece of software, is Onyx. And the best way to get to that is to just download Onyx, Google search, and it'll bring you to Titanium software. And when you have Titanium software, you'll install this little program called Onyx. Now, I like this for two reasons. So first, if I bring up a Finder menu, it shows the full path of the Finder. And by default, this isn't in there. So if I go into, say, my picture settings, and then if I explore this file path here will always show up, so you know the full directory as to where exactly you are. And I really like that because by default it doesn't show this. Another thing too is the icons. So with Onyx, let me just see if I can bring up Onyx for you. This is Onyx. Skip that. It's going to ask you for your admin password. And here you can tweak the user interface to your liking. You go into parameters, and you can really set a lot of things like Finder, the dock, login, iTunes, everything. So what I like to do is I like to make my hidden icons transparent. So I have Firefox and I have system preferences, and if I hide these applications, you'll see that they become transparent, so you know which icons are hidden. Alright, so that's basically an overview as to what I like to put on my system. And there are lots of other goodies that you can get into in Mac OS X, but that's what I would advise for a general setup of any new Mac, especially if you're coming over from a Windows, a Linux environment, maybe a Chromebook, and you really want to get into OS X. That's what I would do. Alright, so Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays. That's about it, and peace. Have a good one.